This collection stretches all the way back to 2001 with the launch of the original Game Boy Advance and comes all the way into 2023 with my latest acquisition, the Miyoo Mini. Some of the systems I own have had upgrades and modifications like new screens and aftermarket shells, whilst others have been hacked to allow me to play games that are not available on that system. There's a fair amount of overlap between systems, but there's only one duplication of systems, and that is in the Game Boy Advance, assuming you don't count the SP and the original model overlapping. This is my Game Boy Color. It has a funny playing laminated IPS backlit display, as well as a replacement shell from Retro 6. All of the internals are original, including the membranes, and it also has the original buttons, so it's got that original feel. This is the only system that I personally have modified, and if you want to see how that was done, I will link a video up here and down here. This is also the system that kicked off this current collection, with a few caveats, more on that in a minute. And it's also still one of my favourite systems to play. This is my Game Boy Advanced. It's one of only 4 systems that I've owned since it was brand new, but it is by far the oldest. I brought this system back in 2001 when it was launched here in the UK, and it is completely stock. It was, however, only my second handheld system. I did have an original DMG Game Boy, which sadly I no longer have, which I had from new. So you could argue that the original Game Boy kicked off the whole collection, but it was 20 plus years ago and I don't have it anymore. This was the second handheld I ever bought. This is my modified Game Boy Advance. It's had pretty much everything in it replaced apart from the motherboard. As you can see, it's got a backlit display, it's got a new shell, it's got new buttons, and if you've watched my What's My Favourite Handheld to Play video, then you'll know I really don't like playing on this thing at all. This is my Game Boy Advanced SP. It's an AGS 001 model, which is the least favourable of the two. And to be honest, it's in pretty poor condition. My original intention for this was to give it a reshell and a new screen, probably something like the boxy pixel shell, but I just haven't got around to it yet. Next up is this. This is my DS Lite and it is in amazing condition. The reason I bought this console is to play this game, Point Blank DS. It's one of my all-time favourite light gun shooters, but I don't have a CRT television and there's no other way to play light gun shooters that makes sense for me. So the next closest thing is this on the DS. This is my new 3DS. It's not the XL version, it's just the regular sized one. And unlike my DS, it's not in amazing condition, but also not terrible. This one gets a fair bit of use because I am one of those people that actually likes playing in 3D. So if I'm going to be playing a 3DS game, then I'm going to be playing on this. This is my 2DS XL and it's also in really great condition. I actually bought this before I brought the new 3DS because a lot of the reviews I'd read said you're not going to use the 3D feature and it's not worth having. So I thought I'll just get the 2D version. But after a little while playing this, I just kind of wondered what's the 3D like. So I thought I'll get a cheap new 3DS. And I ended up really liking playing in 3D, so that became my go-to system and this kind of doesn't get a lot of use. I'm actually thinking about homebrewing this, so let me know if you would be interested in a video on how that's done. Next up is the Switch. This is the second of the handhelds that I have owned since they were brand new. However, this is not the original version. This is actually the updated version with the red box with the bigger battery. I originally held off a little while from getting the Switch when it first came out, and luckily for me, they upgraded the battery, so this one has got a little bit more juice. I did not wait until the OLED Switch came out. This, of course, gets a bunch of use because there's loads of titles on here that aren't available on any of my other handhelds. And that's it for the Nintendo handhelds. But I do have a few others. This is my PSP 3000. It's completely stock, and this is what I play when I want to use the physical media for PSP games. This is my PSP Go. It's been hacked to play a whole bunch of stuff, but to be honest, I mostly use it to play PSP games when I'm out and about. It's also had a storage upgrade, so it now has 128 gigabytes of internal storage. It's not as comfortable to play as the 3000 model, but it definitely fits in your pocket a lot easier. And it also loads the games a little bit quicker, although obviously you can't play the physical discs. This is my PS Vita Slim. It too has been hacked, but it's not a permanent hack. So if ever you shut this thing down, you need to re-enable a hack. It's actually one of my favourite handhelds, and I play this thing all the time, despite the fact that there's actually not that many games available for it. In fact, this is actually the best way to play PSP games because it plays them natively, and assuming I'm at home and I have the ROM for it, I'm going to be playing on this thing. This is my Analogue Pocket, and it's the third of the systems that I've had since it was brand new. In fact, it's only a couple of months old. And if you want to see my full review of the Analogue Pocket, I will link it up here and down here. This is mostly used to play Game Boy Advance games, although it is set up to play a few other systems than Game Boy. And finally, this is my Miyoo Mini, and it's the fourth of the systems that I've had since it was brand new. In fact, it's only been a couple of weeks, so expect a review of this coming soon. This thing comes with a bunch of ROMs for a bunch of different systems, all the way up to and including the PS1. Although it won't play a lot of PS1 games, but there's some there. This is currently what I mostly have with me when I'm out and about because it's so small. It's even smaller than the PSP Go. And that's it. That's my entire handheld collection. Let me know down in the comments if you want to know more about a specific system, but otherwise, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.